All right, so I've added the logo to the file, but I'm not sure of all the tool data. Okay, so what I'm going to do is start with the file that I sent you. All right, so we're just going to hide the logo for a moment. So you have you have a rectangle and you have like a square on the screen. So one of the first things you can do is kind of figure out the size of the part um, without using the measurement tools. Just by down over here, you can see the coordinates are being read. So when I move over this edge here, I know this is 48 inches. Okay, just by moving my mouse there, and then I can read these numbers. If you want to put dimensions on the screen, you can do evaluate and then choose one of the methods. So if we click on here and there, that will draw out the size. So this is 48 inches. Okay, if I go vertical, I can say here and here, and then you can see this is 48 inches. All right, so that's that outside shape. Now, which roughly is the material size or your table size. So then the next thing that you're looking at is this rectangle, right? So this is the pad that we want to create. Let's just grab some dimensions real quick. So this is horizontal. I'll click there, and then I'll click there. So this is 36. All right, and then I'm going to click, I'll change the mode to vertical, and I go here and here, and that's 15. So that's the size of the pad that we want, and that was based off the dimensions you sent me over. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cancel. This is Control Z, and that gets rid of it. Now, this here, it's not it's the zero of the drawing. It could be the zero of the job. And we're actually going to use it as the zero of the job. So the zero is in this lower left-hand corner, just like on the table where the control is, that corner that's by the front of the machine where we set to zero, that's going to be your zero position. Now this here is the part. So this is the part, and what we want to do is position the part in reference to the zero. So right now I have it offset by an index here, but if you want to move the position of the part, you just go to Utilities, and then translate. Okay, we're going to window pick this. So move your mouse above and to the left of it, drag a window down below and to the right, and then now you're able to move it. Okay, so I had a scale factor over here. You can see it remembers your previous position. So it moved it over to a position. But what I want to do now is just adjust where it is, right? So if I click on the ball in the center here, so I click one time, now it's going to move with the mouse. So this allows me to position the part where I want it to be on the material. All right, so I'm just going to kind of bring this in maybe closer to the zero. You know how to change the zero. You can position this wherever you want. I just need to make sure that there's room for the run around the outside. Okay. From here, once I have it in the position I want, I'm going to say okay, and then I'll hit cancel. So this is the part in position. I have it orientated to this lower left-hand corner. These extra dimensions, I'm going to delete them. So I just go to select mode and then hit delete on my keyboard. So from here, I just want to run a tool around the outside of the profile. So we'll get over into the cam, and then inside of the cam, when you start, it's like blank and there's nothing in here. And you can either right click and build a new job, and then you start from scratch, or what you can do is create a job from template, right? This one is add a new job, and that's kind of from scratch. This one is creating a job from template. So for me, I'm just going to right click on this. I'm going to go create job from template. And then I have a couple of templates set up, and it's really easy to save a template. After you've done a job, you can just save it so that you can use it. I'm going to use this 3mm EMC. It's just a profile routine. From there, I'm just going to hit the stock wizard. What the stock wizard will do is pick up that outside shape. The stock doesn't really matter. It's just used for simulation. Our depth here, I believe these are the material we're cutting is 1/4 inch. So I'll just set the depth, and then we're going to go ahead and choose next. Now, by default, it's going to use the top coordinate system. So because we already positioned the part where it's supposed to be and we drew the stock where it is, we can just use this 0. We don't have to set any other zeros, and we just choose OK. So if you're not sure where the 0 is for the job, if you left click on the machine setup, it will highlight the 0 location. Red is for X, green is for Y. Okay, so we're in this corner. Now below it, I have this machining feature. Okay, so this machining feature, all I got to do is right click on this geometry here, choose reselect. Okay, now I need to select my profile. So I'm going to hold down shift and left click on the profile. Now I need to set the direction of cut. So I'm going to say it's going to go clockwise. All right. How do I set the direction of cut? If you zoom in with your mouse wheel, if you click on the arrow, it will change its direction. All right. Now for this template, it's just a profile with a 1/4-inch cutter, and then it's going to a certain depth. So for us, we need to cut out this profile. So we know that we need to go at least 250, for a 1/4 inch, but we might go a little bit deeper to make sure that we break through the material, so we can adjust this depth cutting value here, and then we're going to choose OK. All right, so now we have a profile feature, we have our geometry selected, and then we have our default chain start point. So this is determining where the tool will start from and also what direction it's going to cut in. Now, if we're happy with those settings, we can right click on the profile operation and choose compute, and we'll see this green line come up. So that green line represents where the tool is going to go as it cuts around. Okay. If we want to edit our settings, we can double click on profile rough. This shows the tool diameter that we're working with. And then this shows the speeds and feeds. Now for our machine, we turn the spindle on at the control. So the spindle, we do want a number in here, but this number doesn't matter. The cutting feed rate, this is how fast when we're cutting along. So as usual, I start at 50 inches a minute. The plunge feed rate, this is when the tool is entering the material. Maybe we'll cut that in half and we'll make it a 1/4 or 25 inches a minute. All right. So this is our cutting feed rate. This is our plunge feed rate. This is our tool size. From there, we can just hit compute. And what this will do is run around the part at a single depth all the way around. Now, if we're happy and we don't want to do anything else, what we'll do is we'll post the code, and then this will write the G code that is going to work on the machine. Okay. From here, you can right click and choose save as and save it to a directory. All right. Now, that is the workflow to open up that file, loading a template, and then programming the job. Now, this is set up for your machine. So this is your machine, and then this is the post processor, so that way the code comes out the correct way. All right. The only other thing we might have here is, we wanted to add a logo over here. Okay. So for the logo, I have just the logo over here. We're going to end up engraving on centerline for this logo. Okay. And we want to make sure that we're not cutting all the way down to the bottom. The other thing is that we want it to cut this first. We don't want it to cut the outside shape and then cut this one. Okay. So above this feature, I'm going to load it. I'm going to copy this one. Let me right click and I'll go copy, and then right click and I'll go paste. All right. It asked me if I want to use the same depth values. For now, I'm going to say yes. For this one, I'm going to right click on it and choose rename. And this is logo. All right. And then as far as the order, I want to move this one above the other one. So you can click, drag, and drop it so that it's in order. So you have the logo here, and then we have our profile cutting here. All right. So now for the logo, I'm just going to go to the geometry. If you hit the little arrow, it expands. I'm going to go to the geometry, right click, reselect. I'm going to come over to here. I'm going to window pick this geometry, and that's what we want to work with. The cutting directions, again, we can come in here. Usually we go counterclockwise for inside shapes and clockwise for outside shapes. But in this example, I don't think it matters. We're going to just run clockwise in both directions, okay? Because we're not going to offset the cutter. We're going to run on center line. We do want to adjust our depth because we're using like a form cutter. So this number, I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be, but we're going to just make it half the thickness of the stock and start there. From here, we're going to choose OK. All right, now I need to adjust this logo one, because if I compute this right now, you're going to see that it moves on either side of the part. It's offset. It's being offset off the part geometry. So to adjust that, we're going to double click on Profile Rough. We're going to go to Patterns here, and we're going to change the compensation from left to off, and then we'll recompute. And what that will do is cut right on center. Okay, so we want that one to cut on center, and then this one over here, this is going to cut the shape out. Now, if we're using the same tool, we don't need to do a tool change. We don't need to post it separately. This is what we want to see what's happening. Now, to verify it's cutting in the right order and we're getting the result that we expect, we can run a simulation. So we'll just click on simulation here. Once we see simulation come up, it's going to show the stock material. We can slow this down here and press play. You can see it's going to come in and cut our logo first. All right, once it's done cutting the logo, then what it does is goes around and cuts out that outside shape. So that's what we're looking at as far as the workflow to set up the job and run the job. Now I'm going to send you this file so you'll have it already set up with a logo for engraving and a profile cut. Once we dial in the depth of cuts and the speeds and feeds, we can save it as a template. Now, how do you save it as a template? Well, you'll right click on the job, and then you're going to come down here to where it says Save Job as Template. That will bring up the template directory. So in here, we're going to just call this Land and Sea, and we'll choose Save. All right, so now if we want to do a different job, we can do so just by using that template. So as an example, I'm going to come over to Bobcat 1 here. All right, my screen is a little bit different of a layout, so I'll turn on the display so it matches yours. All right. So what do we do? Normally, I recommend the first step is to draw a rectangle that represents our stock. So let's say that we know it's 48 inches long, and let's just say that it's 24 inches tall. We'll say OK. So that draws us this first shape. The next thing we want to do is draw the shape that we want to cut. So I'm just going to do another rectangle. I'm going to say from this lower right-hand corner, I'm going to index it in half an inch. Actually, let me just make it an inch. Okay, so I give it a little spacing off the edge of the stock. This is where I can say the length of it. Maybe this one's 24 inches long. This is the height of it. Maybe it's 14 inches. All right, and then this here allows us to put a radius. So I'll do a 1 inch radius, and that gives us our shape. Okay, now we want to add some kind of logo or something. So I'm just going to go to the shape library, and I'm going to pick the star shape. And from here, I'm just going to move this star over into this corner, and then I can adjust the size of it. Let's make it 3 inches. Maybe it needs to be up and over a little bit. You can position it wherever you want. I ended up drawing 2 of them, so I want to get rid of one of them. Okay, so how do I do that? I'll go to select mode here, left click 1 time. Then I'll come over the edge, or the one that I want to delete. I'll hold down shift, then I'll move my mouse over it. It highlights one edge. I'll left click. Okay, then it selects the whole thing. I let go of shift. I can move my mouse around. Now I can hit delete, and then it will go away. All right, so that's our logo, and then we have our profile. Now I'm going to go to the CAM tab over here. This is where all the machining is done. All right, we'll come back up to create new job from template. From here, we're going to come down to Land and Sea. So there you are. We click that, and then we're going to just run the stock wizard. The stock wizard will pick up the rectangle that's on the screen. The Z value, this is where we're going to set how thick the material is. and then we're going to choose OK. All right, it already remembered that the 0 is in this corner. From here, we want to select our cutting. So we're going to right click on geometry here, reselect, we'll zoom in over here, window pick this geometry, we'll click OK. Once that's done, we're going to right click on the profile rough and compute, and that gives us our center engrave. Okay, now we need to go to this outside shape. So we right click on where it says geometry, left click on reselect, zoom in over to here, shift on the keyboard, left click on the profile. We can go to our profile chains, set the direction of cut. Our depth is based off our template, okay, but we can adjust that here. We choose OK. We got that set up. Then we're going to come over to the profile rough, right click, compute. Now we have the profile for that. Okay, so we just programmed the one job. Now we programmed another job. From here, we're going to run simulate. So we'll get a visual display of what's going on. We can press play here, and that will show the star being cut out, and then we have our outside shape being cut out. If we're happy with the cut order and it looks the way that we want, we go ahead and close it down, right? And then we're going to post our code. So we'll come up over to here where this little post icon is. We click post. That's right. That writes the code that will run on the machine. From here, you can do right click, save as, and then save it to the directory you want. So that's the workflow to set up the job and run it. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, just reply back to the thread or the video or wherever this video may be located. Other than that, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you so much.